everyone in between. Welcome, Chapter 2, Season 4, FNCS. This is week number 2. We're going to jump into the European action here in just a second. My name's Sundown. Sancho West will be joining us in just a moment. He's reconnecting right now. But for just a moment, I'll be the one taking you through all of the action, and right away, hopping on board here, you can see Aqua going right at Mr. Savage. He's down already and is converted onto that elimination, trying to get the shakedown to get whatever information he can to help out his opponents. You can see Benji also converting onto one, making this a quick little 2v2 going on here, and with a little bit of a shakeup with Doom's Mystic Ball not going to be in play this week because of it being disabled due to a bug. We'll see how that will end up shaking up the play space over here, but so far it's about the same, with action going just immediately into it.
And sorry about that, y'all. You know, sometimes LA, Los Angeles traffic, going from the bedroom to the remote casting here, but we are live, we are vibing. And what is interesting right now is Benji Fishy not vibing. Aqua, Raison, and his trio with Noah Riley are putting the pressure on Benji. And Benji is going to be in a tough spot already, Cam, that we have to look at it, Sundown. They did not come up on top here in the first week. They are essentially about 5-3 in the first interaction here that we have in EU. So it's kind of crazy to see a strong team like Benji, Lecce, and Savage, and already Savage is out. So I gotta say, man, this is going to be those opportunities that you mentioned in week 1. Can they be able to find those adjustments? Because they have plenty of time to do that, but you kind of mentioned it, that they don't fight together. We've been seeing teams fighting hip to hip, and that has been working for our trios. But Benji, Lecce, and Savage not fighting hip to hip, and you're seeing what is happening to that, going down already one man.
Yeah, it's particularly right off of the start. They don't do a really good job of covering each other just immediately, and generally teams have taken advantage of that by being able to close it out. You can see Benji trying to get control over the vault area. They have annexed pretty much the southern side. They are going to be able to pick that up and try and push forward here. You do see the gloves, which generally players ought not to take after those little nerfs that came through a couple patches ago, but now with control over the vault area, we'll also pick up the LMG there to try and get whatever pressure if Aqua and Raison end up coming through. Reboot will go into Noah Riley, so that's kind of the benefit of controlling the north side compared to the south, is if one of your teammates does fall, you have the ability to just kind of access that reboot van, get them up, and now they can press into the players trapped in the vault in a 3v2.
And we're checking again, this is game 1 here of the 12. This is week 2. And our competitors are only 15 will advance. We've already seen the big names, like mentioned, Benji, Savage, Lecce, not advancing, just falling into that 16th place. So every moment matters. Every elim matters. Every placement point matters. So we're seeing the Andalix making their first appearance here alongside with his trio partner, Giannis. They're making their first time appearance here in week 2, able to put it all together and getting some points on the board. No doubt they have to feel confident about right that. But now Aqua has to feel very confident knowing he has Benji and Lecce on the retreat. But luckily, Alama is here to say hello.
Larry the Llama bailing out Lecce and Benji there, utilizing the shockwaves they got from the vault. That's one of the reasons why Dooms is so strong. We talk about the mystical bomb, but it's really, at the end of the day, that's not what separates it. It's those guaranteed shockwaves and getting those epic ARs. You're able to put down just so much more pressure, but not able to create enough distance to avoid kind of that car rotation that's come out and been so typical of this season, and they're going to close the gap on this fight.
And the gap is getting closer and closer. And Benji goes down, so now it's up to Lecce. We have seen Raison on the other side be able to clutch right now, and Lecce is now in the opportunity where he has to clutch or he is kicked out, and he is kicked out. The clutch or kick factor is too strong as Aqua, Raison, and Noah Riley starting off this round 1 in this opening game with a strong finish. And look how far they chased them. All the way outside, just outside Doom's domain. Oh my goodness, they are putting a stamp on this POI. They're letting them know, do not land here ever again. And now we're picking up to a Russian trio here of Kiriachi, Storming Right, Rotary. And it seems as though they've changed their drop there, Cam.
They might have changed it a little bit, or they might have audibled based off of what they saw off of the drop spot. We notice how between last week there were, I think it was 3 different teams who were landing kind of towards the southwest, but they were all overlapped depending on what the fights were. Generally, if you see people committing hard down to Slurpee and there's more than 2 teams going down there, you can audible to come a little bit more central. And as long as you're inside of the split drop from the ghost base, there's enough loot here to sustain 1 or 2 people pretty consistently. If you're lucky enough, you can get enough for a full trio. But the real benefit is just the amount of easily available brick and metal. They're going to be able to get to those max mats. But right now we have an ambush. Mama Flares picks up Slat right there. Real easy coming out there. Going to miss the point blank snipe trying to get that. Just going to opt then to turn around, hit the pump shot real quick instead. You can see Papa Flares will also get that one. And they're going to actually convert all the way over there. So a nicely timed ambush there.
And that was a great find right there. The ambushes are real, and every point is being racked up. And it's interesting to see all the stats that kind of break down how the early game is so strong here, and not only just conditioning your opponents to let them know, as we already see Noah Riley conditioning their opponents and Benji, but that's a strong play right there just to start us off here. Now going down to the center, as you mentioned, how it's so vital here. A little bit calmer, not a lot of people contesting here, but this train hard squad, Matzo, Amplify, ADN, put some great work in week 1. They were able to, of course, I believe, qualify, but they're just here to show that they're going to stamp their name here at the Authority.
Yeah, and you can see the duo from Train H plus ADN has been playing so incredibly well. They've been over at Authority. And you talk about them not really doing much early, but you can see Amplify already sitting on 2 eliminations. Matzo has one, so whoever was in this area, they must have been able to force them out already up near max mats. And I think one of the biggest and most underrated factors of competitive Fortnite in particular is landing center zone or having easily accessible center zone rotations. And these guys have prioritized it and conditioned it so much in Europe that it makes it really difficult to move past this area without them already having max resources and kind of scouting it out. But now we're going to head on over to the southeast where a fight is breaking out.
The fight is breaking out here all the way on the mountaintops, and these are the fights that are, like, I cannot stress that, they are really strong. YZ Pickles and Arkun coming back here in week 2, getting Mexi, Hardfine, and that trio, and they only have one more, but the fights are still breaking out here. I believe the third party, no, that is Hardfine. So Hardfine is still up in this fight. We still have a battle for height right now, but these are the kinds of things that we mentioned. The shockwaves are going up that you're going to have to wrap up quickly. You don't want to spend too much time here because already they're on the storm. This is a very scrappy fight here, Sundown.
Yeah, and you don't want to get stuck on the edge of these zone fights. The French trio trying to close it out. You can see they're already able to take down Mexi, but Hardfine doing a good enough job to fight him off. Astro also really good at kind of prolonging these fights and making him utilize it. And also Hardfine, aka OT Exponential, sitting on those peppers as well with 9 kind of in the inventory, which give you just that much more benefit when you're kind of working around these scrappy little fights and being able to get onto the side. You can see YZip trying to get some pressure onto Astro. Astro doing a good job to isolate that 1v1 right now. Realistically, they should be trying to get together and take a 2v1 if possible. And that goes for both teams. You don't want to kind of prolong these individual fights and allow them to kind of get together and get back and put the pressure on top of you. And right now, Hardfine doing a good job. Big 86 tag coming out there and going to force Arkin back up in a way. YZip trying to work over to them. They're both just going to regroup.
And we saw as well Stormy Right Rotary, as I mentioned, we were kind of wondering, did they change up their landing? And the reason why Stormy Right and Rotary kind of have an inconsistent day 1 were these scrappy fights, making their way from the edges, trying to find their way in. Even though they survived this moment, you know, this is going to be this thing where once they get to the close of zone 2 and 3, they're going to find somebody else that's going to be a lot beefier. They're going to have a lot more resources. They got a lot more health and shields. And because of all that, then their ride is going to be over. So yes, they pick up these 3 elims as possible, but you're seeing this. It is being drawn out so much. It's going a slugfest, going back and forth, and this is going to happen throughout the entire day. You're going to see these kind of early engagements amongst the same kind of trios happen all the time because they're going to basically cross paths every time they go. They land in the same way. They may be landing exactly on the same chest, but the rotations are going to take them through those loop paths that they're always going to cross. And all the mental notes is happening right here, Sundown. They're saying, all right, I did this, I did that. What are we going to do to make those adjustments?
And you don't want to end up in a situation like this where, yes, you're getting picked, you're on the outside of the storm now. I mean, you're in a 1-for-2 situation. Storm Surge is going to turn off as we just now have 70 players, but kind of talk about that format where placement points don't kick in until the top 17. Realistically, we don't see that until like 6th, maybe 7th zone in most games. So while picking up 3 or 4 points here can be nice, and ooh, some nice little bandage cannon mechanics coming out there from Hardfind, hitting Astro on the run. That's going to be able to give them a decent amount, but anytime you're kind of chasing back into the storm and forced to white line like this, if you don't want to end up being pressured out, I mean, just look at their number of builds. It's going to be so awkward. They're going to have to get this ambush execution here if they want to really stay in this game, and they're going to look for it.
Here it is. This is what I'm talking about. The butterfly effect that's happening. You're seeing a lot of other trios on the shamble route, and the white line is, that's where all the traffic is going to be. There it is. Nice pickup right there by Hardfind, finding that hard elim through the storm, able to get the beams through the rain, and is going to be able to capitalize that and get the siphon. But now their teammates are happening. This is messy. This is so messy, and this is so bad. This is what you want to avoid. If you look on your right side of your screen, it's the other arrows looking in, getting those insights, starting the gatekeep, setting up bases and whatnot. That is what you want to avoid, and look at all the materials already being expensed. And when you know, Sundown, someone's hitting that campfire, you know someone's in trouble. As you can look in the feed, Aqua and Noah Riley go down to 4ZR's trio.
Yeah, 4ZR, Nate taking him down. They're going to pick that one up. So despite being able to clean up Benji & Co. early at Dooms, not able to then convert it into anything in the late game, but right now just following along with the storm fight. As you see, Sick does end up going down. That was one of the players they had end up ambushing. So it's going to be out over the horizon there. You can see him trying to cut off Fury, Legendary, right now, not allowing him to get an angle. And this is realistically kind of their best shot at staying in the game, getting these cheeky little ambushes. They don't really have the materials to make anything else happen, and they need to get the siphons and as many points as possible to just make it happen. And boom, going to find him there and also get a med kit, which is massive if they're able to get that over onto Hardfind and can keep him in the game. Yep, he's going to drop it down, tag him out right away. This will flip over to a 2-tick zone in 35 seconds, so he's going to need to pop that. They're actually probably going to revive and then pop it. Is that going to be the play? Yeah. So they're going to have Astro pop this, and then they're going to revive Exponential and then try and chain out into the zone, but this is going to be so close.
This is one of the 6 out of the 10 teams returning this week in week 1. 4ZR, as we mentioned, the elim feed is back in it. Thomas HD, who finished, is there. This team right here, Mexi, finished 6th place. So they're, you know, a very strong squad. As we saw there back in Authority, we had Umpify coming in 9th place. Another great trio. Of course, Shio's pick, Mongrel, which is, I have to say, Sundown, such an easy pick to pick. Come on now. Granted, we didn't pick them last time, you know, and I think they probably maybe heard it. I'm not quite sure if pros are tuning into what we're talking about. But Shio's pick, Mongrel's going to have a really strong start because they kind of mentioned that at the moment they have, there it is, Stark Industries uncontested. And that power loot that they find, the vault, the medium ammo, all those things are going to work in that trio's favor there. But here we are, Thomas HD. What I have to say, Sundown, a rising star in the scene.
Yeah, Thomas HD had such an incredible job last week. You can see 11 teams returning from last week into round 3, so a third of the field making it through. But Thomas HD ended up accounting for about 32 of his team's points just through his individual clutches, including two of the most ridiculous solo clutches, just going through one game over by Sentinels, one with a late shockwave, and then that almost meme-worthy clutch that went through is kind of how it started and how it ended. Thomas HD with 5 eliminations in the Victory Royale. Powered his team to 2nd last week, but right now just posted up in the zone. And I want to give kind of a shout out as well to Anos, because him and Thomas were, I believe, the 1st and the 10th player when it came to kind of those points earned for their team in the category. And if it weren't for those individual efforts, it would have been really difficult for the team to perform as well as they did. But Flick kind of giving enough support for those two and enabling them to push towards the top.
And also, the community sees the respect. when you look at the EU leaderboards, wherever you kind of like to keep track of things, ladies and gentlemen, when you see the other Thomases, the Thomases pop up, that is the kind of respect, just like the Benzies Fishies, you see the Fishies moniker, you see the RR moniker going out there. That is a sign of respect, and that is a sign that you are popping up on people's radars. And the waves that Thomas HT caused kind of washed ashore here at NA East as they're about to wash over another neighboring trio, but actually it is Train Hard that gets Thomas HT, but Flick is there to be able to back him up, and they return the favor and get the nice trade. This is an interesting battle here because look at the congestion on the mini-map. So many people down south, and they see it, and the eyes go through it, and the beams come through as they're looking for those opportunities to take those one-pointers right there, and now the lobby is focused Sundown. It's going to be bad news for both of these trios.
Yeah, and that was ADN picking up kind of that side elimination there. Scram also getting a piece of that prize. Anas now, we talked about it. This team, while they did incredibly well and finished second, they was on the backs of those massive individual efforts, and you can't always expect that to happen in trios. When it happens, it's great and super exciting, but relying on your trio to always be clutching up in the situations and putting in these 1vx and 1 versus the rest of the lobby, I mean, you can only do it so many times, right? There's only so many of these players who can clutch up against quite literally the best of the world in the most played region. So I don't think that's going to be a really consistent strategy. As you can see, everyone boxing up, trying to move in towards that 4th zone, where then the priority, Sancho, will be boxing up towards that outside.
The one thing I want to point out, though, is like this could be just getting their reps in. Yes, it's going to be bad for week 2, but they already qualified, so this will be a strong opportunity to see what Anas has. But now we have this awesome trio in front of us, and you're going to see all the perspectives at the same time and how they're kind of working as a unit. You have one person that's normally the IGL, the in-game leader. You have someone who's a fragger, and then you have a support, someone who's going to kind of flex between the two. And you're seeing this trio working very strong right now, kind of finding angles, picking fights, kind of beaming people. You're seeing they're doing their best, using the harpoon to recover those precious materials, and this is going to be a nice refresh for Gonset squad with Michael.
So I don't kind of like the moniker support player. I know a lot of people kind of make jokes about it. One of the best support montages I've ever seen was on Twitter the other day. But the way I kind of look at it is the Tarpa will generally be in front. Whoever your fragger, or more so, I would say your fighter, is towards the back of wherever your available tarp is, because they want to be able to roam up and like take the picks. And then whoever's in between, I would say, is kind of the pivot or the fulcrum. Generally, that is your IGL, but we've seen players also be on either side of that, where their job is to make sure you have enough of a connection between those two, where if anything happens, like right there, boom, where if a crash pad goes down in your builds, you're able to kind of suction your team together, close the space in between, make sure you have all the piece control, replace whatever you need to replace, cover and support whoever you need to support, and make sure you guys are all together. So yes, there are aspects where you're supporting your team there, but I think the biggest factor of that kind of position of a trio is where you are in the order of your binds. As you see, kind of a failed bouncer pad there, really going to set this trio back, as now they're going to have to hoof it on foot across the middle of this zone.
And not only that, Sundown, they got to make their way up, really high up towards Stark Industries. As you can see it is on the mini-map, and it's like a conga line of E-limbs popping off left and right here. I'm going to see so many trios fall because this is such a treacherous path that people have to overcome at the moment. It is Polar Peak 2.0, and you're seeing the turning and burning from those fraggers that you kind of mentioned, kind of going out there looking for those E-limbs, and while the in-game leaders or the people that are tarping are now trying to figure out, how can I make my way up? As someone as a new time trio of Analyx, Janice, and this is not Duck on Top, this is Exqueezy. Exqueezy is such a dangerous player. This player could heat up at any moment. I've seen him pop off in very third-party tournaments, getting triple, like 30 E-limbs, and that is what you're seeing right here. Pick up another E-limb. This is one of our popular teams in the EU region, Sundown, who did not qualify in week 1. We're expecting to do really well here in week 2.
And he's played incredibly well, not only in the DreamHacks, as well as had good results in the FNCS Invitational in the solos. Now trying to convert it over here. Janice, another player who's had really good results as a solo. And of course, Andalex, I believe, was the duo champion, going back with Nate as well. Had some good results in the DreamHacks. But now let's look at that zone. So the 6th zone is actually pulling with only a part of it on top of start. The people on the low ground have a safe rotation, which is absurdly lucky, because this is one of the worst zones to have to rotate in a game. safe. Everyone is going to be forced to use their utility, but the key now, as we keep an eye on the elim feed in the top left, is where does zone number 7 go? Because if zone number 7 pulls up, then everything is just going to break loose. It is going to be chaos defined and utter pandemonium, as everyone's going to be forced to use their utility and do whatever they can to get up. And look at how high that ultimate high ground is. Snap Demon, Swag, Miro just looking down on the rest of the lobby, praying that that 7th zone pulls to the north.
Oh my goodness, it's a tale of two tales right now, up top and down low. We have the high tops doing really well, tarping on it, single tarps, but now we are in the end game, ladies and gentlemen. This is full rotations. There is literally no safe center anymore. All zones are going to be pulling off the safe, and they're going to keep moving now. And there it is. Oh no, Sundown. It's going up, baby. And look at everybody. You have to scramble. All those teams down below are in a rough fight. Look at the utility. Look at the utility popping, but right now, who is popping, who is vining? It is Miro and Swag and Snakemon. This trio had a strong appearance in week 1, and they are primed to get week 2's first victory royale if they could just hold on.
And the key here is just look in the top left as everyone is dropping. Placement points are coming over.
So fast.
Every single trio is dropping. But not only were they up on the high ground, they were about an entire shockwave length and maybe even a little bit more above the top of start. What that means is even if these players burn all of their utility to get up the side, there's none left to then get up the high ground. You've used all their mats. Miro has 66 more builds, and about 300 of them are hard mats. They have a ton of crash pads. They're just going to sit up here and rain down fire. They have 5 eliminations already. He's just wasting these crash pads and throwing them down, but he has plenty to spare.
Oh my goodness, the beams are true, and we had talked about it a little briefly about the low ground being a new strat. We kind of mentioned it on the analyst desk. Shayo and Reese were showing at it, but all that was basically nullified when Stark Industries became a play. That high elevation took it away from everybody. So, but now, Sundown, the pressure is on for high ground. They have to be sure that to hold on to this opportunity. You know what I mean? It's so close.
Forziar is still in. Forziar is still in on the low ground in the storm right now. You can see him fighting on the backside of the storm. So despite his teammates picking up some early eliminations and trading out, we talk about those individual efforts and going in. With 14 players left and 8 trios remaining, there's plenty of solos and duos, which means every single player you outlast, every single elim you get is worth that much more. Now 12 players left, 6 trios remaining. Queasy on the low ground in your bottom right. Miro in the top right, still up on the high ground with this full trio. 6 elims for them so far, but Queasy and co trying to find the plays of the low ground as they get the first knock and the conversion. We're into our top 5 with just 9 players left.
The mat endurance, the height stamina of right now of Swag's trio is just all-time high. They didn't expense anything. They have so much, and another beam comes through, and already with 7 elims. But looking at the story, Queasy down low, they go make a play, but it is not enough. Chapix went up and got bopped. Now it's Queasy all by himself on the low. It is a 1v1 between 2 trios. Queasy, Milan have the goal against a 2v3, and it's all going down here in game 1 here of round 1, week 2. Can the dominant height overcome the shambles on the low? And now it's about patience, Sundown. Can the victory royale come down from height, or is it going to come up from the low? But Milan actually kind of setting up something interesting here, and they have to be careful. You could get chopped here, Sundown.
He's trying to find it. Queasy goes for the first play. Miro drops down. Milan is down. So now it's Queasy 1v2. He'll have a slight... No, he won't have an HP advantage. I lied. Swag was up on the high ground. I think Swag has a flopper as well. However, Queasy will get the siphon going over onto Snap, making it close. But yeah. Swag has flopper. He has floppers. He has chug splashes. And this is what we talk about. 10 eliminations plus the victory royale. 35 points coming out from them. But the high ground control and just the utter abundance of utility at the end when everyone else had to throw the kitchen sink to even make it up the hill.